60 minutes ago, I was this really brilliant woman.
Welcome to About Time, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Stephen, and I've been a Doctor Who fan since 2005, and usually I'm joined on the podcast by my boyfriend, Ben. Today, however, I'm joined by a special guest, Mike from Who Gives A Flux, to discuss the 2023 Children in Need minisode, Destination Skaro. And quite frankly, it's about time. So, hello Mike, welcome.
Hello, thank you, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, thank you for joining me. So I've been on your podcast, Who Gives A Flux, a couple of times, but now this is your first time on this podcast, so welcome, thank you for coming to the other side.
To be fair, it's about time.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Did you prepare that in advance?
Maybe.
It's a good line though, it works for so many things.
It really does. It really, really does.
So I asked you to come and join me for this episode because I wanted to talk about the Children in Need mini scene that aired. At time of recording, it aired last night. So,
it did.
Just before we dive into it, I will just say, obviously, Children in Need do very important work. I'll be making a donation to Children in Need on behalf of this episode, and I'll put the link for that in the show notes. But I'm sure you all know how to find it anyway. But do support them because they do very important work.
They really do.
But yeah, so we got our first glimpse of the 14th Doctor.
We did.
It's so strange, isn't it, seeing David Tennant back in the role, because it's like no time has passed at all, and yet 15 years have passed. Like, it's crazy.
It's not 15 years, it was yesterday.
Yeah. What did you think of the way he was in it?
So I thought he was like the 10th Doctor, really.
Absolutely,
he was sort of the same, I guess.
Yeah.
I think I am prepared for him to be playing the Doctor the same way as he was, because I don't think there's going to be much difference. I think there might be some subtle changes, because it's important that they realise he's been through several regenerations in between. Yeah. But really, it's David Tennant playing the Doctor. So
Absolutely.
it was quite a lovely thing to see him back, I think. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, the way I see it is he's playing the same incarnation as he played before, but it's just, it comes at a later point in the Doctor's life. So the character of the Doctor has had more character development since then, but it's the same kind of personality as it would have been.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is the best way to do it, because, you know, people want to see, if they hear David Tennant and Catherine Tate are coming back, they want to see the David Tennant they remember.
Oh, 100%. And it is like a celebration, isn't it, of their time on the show, as well as the show itself. It's just one big celebration. It should be harking back to how they were. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, I think it was just so bizarre. Like when he popped out of the TARDIS, it was like, okay, it's just so weird seeing brand new Doctor Who with David Tennant in it. That's like, we thought that ship had long sailed, and, you know.
Is it weird, though, that it's also kind of not weird to see? It felt very familiar and very, like, just right. It just felt like it was...
It did feel right, yeah.
The same again, but in a good way, not in, like, a kind of a monotonous sort of, oh, God, him again. It didn't feel like that at all. To me, anyway. I'm sure there are fans out there that did feel like that. But no, this time round I thought, oh, there he is, he's back. But he's also still here. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, what did you think about the whole... let's just jump in, because we have to jump in. The whole Davros thing.
That was my next thing on my list. Yeah, I think we have to talk about that. It's very important. I saw Julian Bleach was back, and I thought, oh, fantastic, because he is an incredible actor. Very creepy. I was also impressed by the way that he, in this scene, because it was quite a funny, comical sketch, he was able to be believably villainous and creepy as Davros, but also play into the comic beats of the scene with opposite Moan, which is, you know, probably no easy feat. And he did that really well. So that's brilliant to see that back. And I assumed when I watched the scene on its own that, okay, we're seeing Davros pre Genesis of the Daleks. So this was him from a long time ago, before he became what we visibly knew him as. But then obviously I watched Doctor Who Unleashed, and we got Russell's explanation of the change. Yeah. Okay. Now, personally, I think this is a great thing. I'm really for it. I think Davros, he is an archetype. There's this long-standing trope, as Russell mentioned, of disability being linked to evil, and it's been present in media for such a long time. And whether, I'm not saying that when people created the character of Davros, they were thinking, oh, we'll put him in a wheelchair because that shows he's evil. I'm not saying that they were thinking that, but it plays in, whether you realise you're doing it or not, it plays into this long-standing thing. If you look back to Shakespeare with Richard III, all the Bond villains in the movies, like it's a shorthand that people have used to say, oh, we'll let you know this person's a bad person because they've got disfigurement or there's something wrong with their body, quote unquote. So it's 2023 now, as Russell T Davies said. This is we don't have to keep perpetuating these old things. We can do new things, and we can do better. And so I say bravo to him for making that choice. The only question is, like, if they choose to use Davros going forward, are they going to do that? Because personally, my question is, do we really need Davros anymore? I think, has he served his purpose in Doctor Who for the last 50 years? I personally think he has. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've seen, I don't think we've seen him a huge amount in terms of like screen time and episodes and stories, but at the same time, what we've had sort of is his story as we need to see it. I don't think there needs to be much more addition to the Davros story, which is why I was so surprised to see him pop up in this little scene, because it just wasn't, I didn't expect that at all. I think I knew going into the scene that I was expecting comedy, because these 5-minute little skits are that, aren't they? They're not really a time to be telling a deep and meaningful, dark, twisty story, because there's just not enough time. And then when I saw the promo shot of the Dalek casing, and I thought, oh, okay, so they're doing the Daleks. And weirdly, my mind then thought, okay, well, this can't be a comedy sketch then, because there's a Dalek in it. So then to get the kind of mixture of the two, I was like, of course, Russell's doing a mixture of the two, because that's what he does. He does the kind of dark, scary stuff undercut with a comedy. Stephen Moffat did it really well as well, actually, to be fair. I'm the same as you. I feel like Davros's story is, if that's all we have from Davros, then it's complete. It's done and we don't need any more. That's fine. Weirdly, though, I will say, I didn't really view Davros as a wheelchair user. I sort of just presumed that it's because he's created the Daleks who wheel about in the same bottom half of the casing as he had. Do you know what I mean? I think so. I just saw it as that's something I don't know. I don't really think I thought about what came first, the Dalek or the Davros in the casing. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. But then does that mean that you saw it that he could have got out of the chair if he chose to?
Possibly. I just didn't see him as disabled.
I see. Okay, yeah.
I just never thought that. I thought, this is Davros, this is his design. I didn't think past what I could see. Yeah. So I wasn't really thinking of him like that, if that makes sense. But I think the tropes are there.
The tropes are there, and there's more to Davros than that as well, like the fact that he's got the scarring and the kind of disfigurement, and his withered limbs and stuff. Like there's a lot that they've thrown in there. And it all kind of goes towards it. But yeah, I mean,
and I did enjoy the new Davros then.
He was fantastic.
Because when he came out, and he was very, well, we can't escape the Nazi comparison here, can we? Because it was very, very clear with the way his hair was, the way he stood, the uniform, the like lapel. And even the way he said design. He didn't say design, he said design. It was like, it's a bit, had a bit of a German lilt.
Do you know, I've always thought that with Julian Bleach. I don't know why, but because obviously he's been in Torchwood, he's been in Sarah Jane. I feel like in all of those, there's something about his voice that almost sounds like he's doing a slight accent.
Yes,
Like,
I think he is. I think he is, but it was marvelous to see that.
Yeah,
actually,
it worked
was
really
a really
well.
cool new look.
And do you know what else, though? The thing about his performance in that is that take him out of the prosthetics and he's got so much more freedom to use his face as an actor.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is so much more expressive, you know.
The potential to be even more scary.
Exactly.
Like if he has the ability to do all that with his face.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And I'm glad he came back. I was glad and surprised when he came back in Series 9.
Same.
Because I felt like, you know, he's quite a serious actor. I think he'd sort of done his Davros and had moved on. But then he was happy to revisit it. And then again for Children in Need, like, yeah, bravo.
Side note, I really like that Dalek two-parter in Series 9. I think a lot of people don't. I think I might be in the minority. But that kind of pre-credit scene where that little boy is in the field of hand mines, is it? With the hands coming out? And with the eyes in, and then he says his name, and I was like, ooh!
Yeah.
That's interesting and exciting. And it's clever the way that Moffat could do that and play with the canon and kind of rejig his own stories around it. And actually, even now, this is what Russell has done. He has been able to manipulate the canon a bit. It's lovely that he said Genesis of the Daleks. That was a lovely kind of cheeky little line. And I enjoy that we've seen something that the long-standing fans of the show are getting a bit of a layer of something in that scene, as well as the kind of newbie casual fans who recognise the Dalek.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Tennant factor. There's a whole lot going on.
Yeah. I like that aspect where, like, he's explaining all the different parts of the Dalek. He's like the ruby ray blaster or whatever. And then he says, and then you see the claw, and it's like this moment of like, oh, that's not right. And then you realise that's going to get explained. Like, yeah, it was very clever.
I love when he just said, I like it.
Yeah. That was so funny because, like, you could see Mr. Castavillian waiting, like, for his, you know, for the explosion of anger. Like, what have you done? And then he flips it. Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
Really good.
Very good.
It was good. I have to say that a lot of the time, I think this is quite an important point, and I need to learn from this, what I'm about to say, because I'm very good at, you know, giving people advice, but listening to it myself, not so good. When I put it on the first time, just to watch it, you know, without any spoilers or anything, I came away from it a little bit sort of, oh, okay, because I think there's an expectation factor. I think a lot of the time, me personally, I have an expectation about feeling a certain way when I first view Doctor Who. Any Doctor Who. And in this particular instance, there was quite a lot of excitement because this is the first time we're seeing the 14th Doctor since the regeneration, unless you count the comic book in Doctor Who magazine, but that's for the die-hard fans. That's not really for the viewing public.
Yeah.
So seeing him, this is the first time he is there saying, ooh, you know, 60 minutes ago I was a brilliant woman, and now I've got this old face on, and you could see Jodie's TARDIS interior inside the TARDIS, and this was a moment that classically is probably in the show rather than an extra comedy scene for comic relief. So quite a big moment to have. So presumably we're not going to get that scene now in the show because this is canon. But the expectation factor is that feeling of excitement and like really looking forward to seeing something and then maybe not necessarily getting what you want. And I mean that kind of from an emotional point of view rather than a plot point of view, even though, you know, the trolls of Twitter tend to dive into the plot. But for me, it's an emotional thing. So I came away thinking, oh, okay, so that was that. But I had to watch it a couple of times to appreciate it for what we got. And now I'm like, oh yeah, that was good. I enjoyed.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I definitely think that's played a part in my viewing of Doctor Who since Russell left the first time. I've always gone into it and I don't feel like I've ever left a first viewing of an episode really thinking, yes, that was what I wanted. Like, because I think you romanticize the past so much and like when you look back on things. But you're right. It's advice for us all to follow.
Because we've got these massive specials coming.
Yes.
And
we've been waiting so long.
so long, and there's just such an excitement in the air and an expectation, and I feel like we all need to manage that just a
100%.
tiny bit.
Definitely.
To kind of hold yourself back a little bit, maybe let yourself let it happen in front of you, and then maybe don't necessarily jump on your opinion straight away. Rewatch it, because us Doctor Who fans love to rewatch it with like, a kind of a fresh head on, and then I'm sure it'll be different.
And if we get to Wild Blue Yonder and there's no Carol Ann Ford, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, like...
exactly. And I know that half the fun of being a Doctor Who fan is the speculation. I know it is, but I don't tend to go in for that kind of Twitter speculation that seems to happen. I like to have my own little things, but you also have to understand the constraints of TV and the constraints of everything. So
It did amuse me to see the cast list for Wild Blue Yonder. There's an actress in it called Susan Twist, and it's like imagine Russell almost like choosing that woman just because of her name, like to mess with the fans.
And like in the Doctor Who magazine, all those redacted actors that we couldn't see who was in it. So he's just poking us with a stick, and he loves it.
I don't know if I want to mention anything else about the scene. I think we've covered that quite well.
I think it looked really good.
It did, yeah.
I was quite impressed that they built that set just for that 5-minute scene. It doesn't look like one we've seen before, and it was lit beautifully. I love the reds and blues. There's something about when you mix these colours. So I did think it looked really good. I liked it as well because it looked like an advert for a Dalek.
Oh my God, totally. Yeah.
Like an infomercial.
Like one of those car
Here's
adverts.
Here's what you need. I thought that was brilliant.
The Mark III travelling machine. Like
exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's made me want to go and watch Genesis of the Daleks again. It's been a little while.
It's a classic, isn't it? Mm-hmm. In more ways than one.
Very much so.
Yeah. What you were saying about this like first moments of the 14th Doctor being part of a charity special, it's very much what we got with David Tennant the first time with the Born Again scene, which I always find strange in a way, because if you take that out of the equation and say, someone's watching Doctor Who on iPlayer and they just go from Parting of the Ways straight to Christmas Invasion, there's a whole, like, what I feel is quite an important chunk missed out. And like you don't get to see Rose's immediate reaction to the new Doctor and that kind of thing. So it does seem strange to do something like that in a Children in Need special.
So okay, question for you then. Do you know if you are in a rewatch of Doctor Who and you watch Parting of the Ways, would you then go and put on that scene and then watch Christmas Invasion? Is that what you do?
Probably not.
No, same. I don't either.
I think the Pudsey cutaway, as they called it back then, is like it's actually not very good in my opinion. Like it's a bit rough and ready.
It is. They really did throw that together on what they had.
I think that's only because I don't bother to watch it because I watched it a lot as a teenager, so I know it, so I don't need to see it again. I
get you.
But when we got to that point in the podcast, like I made Ben watch it, and he was not a fan.
Well, it's just sort of a bit rickety, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched it this morning, funnily enough, just to be like, well, I wanted to watch the last one of the ones we had with David Tennant before, and it was his first scene as a Doctor. It felt appropriate, and it is just a little bit rickety. The dialogue is good. And you're right, it is an important first moment for Rose, and arguably it should be on iPlayer after Parting of the Ways, or as a prologue to the Christmas Invasion, so you could watch it in sequence, because it is there. But at the same time, the entrance in the Christmas Invasion does all of that anyway. Yeah. It's really clever. He doesn't repeat himself, and yet he gets everything across in the same way.
Yeah. I guess I just liked the way that Rose was like distrusting initially.
Yes.
But then you come to Christmas Invasion and straight away she knows. She tells Jackie and Mickey, that's the Doctor. Like, yes. So you missed that part of it, but yeah.
Because you're right. Yeah. She does say like it was a teleport or something, or a transmat. Something happened. I don't know. Something spacey and weird. But something spacey and weird did happen, but not what she was expecting.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad we got this 2023 one. It's a nice glimpse. I think they must have had this planned for a long time, because according to Doctor Who Unleashed, they filmed it on David Tennant's birthday, which I believe is in April. So they would have filmed it in April, and we've only just heard about it. They've managed to keep it under wraps, like, quite well.
And if those story beats are in this, then we would assume that they're not a repetition of what we haven't seen yet. Oh, that's
Exactly,
timey-wimey. So that's clever in itself. But yeah, you're right. It's quite cool that he came back like a year after he finished recording what he was doing, and to do another scene. And it kind of proves that, he is the current Doctor, obviously. But part of me kind of thought, other than appearances to promote it on kind of live TV or whatever, that they've probably filmed the kind of interviews, and they've probably done audio commentaries if they're doing that, all that sort of stuff. It's all been done. We're in Shooty's era now in my head in production, so I kind of thought, Tennant is done, but actually it's really cool that he came back and did some more, and that's good as well, because there's also hope for the future that he might come back and do more again.
Yeah, I think he'll always come back when he's the most loyal fanboy Doctor. Yeah, which is lovely.
It is lovely.
Although he has talked about like doing it before he gets too old, which makes me think he feels there is a limit on when he could come back,
I think because he does look quite young, you see. So
he does, yeah.
He doesn't look his age. He's in his 50s?
Yeah, he is,
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think because he looks the way he does and he runs about the way he does, I think I don't associate kind of an age with him.
No, but I think
of himself as being too old.
He might think of it, yeah.
Yeah. He's the one having to, but he get up in the morning and go, oh shit, my back.
Yeah.
So is David Tennant your Doctor?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
is he?
Eccleston and Tennant, because Eccleston got me into the show. Eccleston set the scene, but then Tennant kind of took over and pushed it further and brought it more popularity. So, yeah, that's definitely my era.
What a fantastic era it was.
I know.
And how lucky we are now to have the opportunity to revisit the era with new content that isn't like just a novel. I'm not sure whether you read the novels or if you listen to the Big Finishes. I know you don't listen to Big Finishes, you're not a fan.
No.
I've listened to the David Tennant Big Finishes and quite enjoyed them for what they are. But I like reading. I'm a big reader, so I do enjoy reading the Doctor Who novels. Not necessarily all of them. There's a lot, but
some of them. I think the only one I've read is Human Nature, which I read recently. Because we did the episode on the podcast, and then I was telling Ben about how it was based on a book, and I was realising I've never read it, and it's like my favourite Doctor Who episode. It is really good. I do recommend that if anyone hasn't read it. There's
some really, really good ones. And there's two that jump to mind, which, and strangely not from this era, so bear with, but the Target novelisation of The Day of the Doctor is really, really good.
I've heard good things about it, yeah.
Yeah, it's written in a strange order, and there's just a lot going on, but in a really good way. So that's a really good one. There's also a fantastic original story. I want to say it's called Touched by an Angel, but I might have got that wrong. But it's a Weeping Angel story with Matt Smith's Doctor, but it's really, really good.
Okay.
I don't know how they managed to get the... Well, maybe because you're reading it and you kind of... It's slowly describing things about the angels, and it's quite exciting. So that's awesome if you get a chance. And then there's one, I want to say it's called Beautiful Chaos, but again, I could be wrong. And that is a Dr. Donna story, but it's got Wilf at the centre of things. And it's set sort of, I think it's set either after the Sontaran two-parter or after the Library two-parter.
Okay.
And Donna comes home for a bit of a break because she's like, that was all too much.
Yeah.
And then... aliens invade. but Wilf is sort of the centre of the story. It's really, really good.
Oh, that does sound good. Yeah, I better get that. Cause,
Need more Wilf.
More Wilf, more Donna, yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. But yeah, so we're nearly there. We're nearly at the time of the specials. We've been waiting so long. And it's all kind of kicked off recently as well. We've been waiting all year. And suddenly all this stuff's come out of the woodwork, like... Doctor Who Unleashed has been revealed, which I'm very excited about because I loved Doctor Who Confidential. Was very sad when it got cut.
Same.
And watching the short one for the Children in Need special is very promising.
Yes.
The presenter Stefan Powell, He's very gorgeous, so that's an
he's a bit all right, isn't he?
And he has a lovely Welsh accent, which we know is a delight for the ears.
Isn't it just, dear listener?
Yeah, so that's fun. I can't wait to see more of that. We've also had the Tales of the TARDIS dropping on iPlayer.
Yeah.
I've only watched one of those so far, the Earthshock one.
Me too.
But it's a lovely demonstration of the fact that they are celebrating the entire show, you know.
Yeah.
And I think Russell's really keen on making Doctor Who accessible to new viewers.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is so like forward thinking of him, and like he doesn't just want to relegate old stuff to the past. He wants it to be maintaining popularity and like
it's a completely exciting time to be a Doctor Who
Yeah.
fan. Obviously, we've got the Dalek colorization
Yeah.
coming up, and I think they're also re-showing the Adventure in Space and Time, which I know you put your episode out this week. I think it was or last week.
Yeah.
It was very recent. I've listened, and I was wondering if you thought whether they were going to be placing the 14th Doctor in that cameo scene instead of Matt Smith, and I'm tempted to watch it that night live just in case there's any surprises, because I thought that was the whole point of doing that scene like that, wasn't that? So if
that's what they said.
Yeah, recut. So I'm wondering whether, because it's a big celebration, they may do something cheeky.
Yeah, I think it would be great to do that. This is, I don't know if this counts as spoilerous, so maybe people should not listen if they don't want to hear it. But
warning.
Did you see the news about what Ncuti said at an event recently? That
I did.
In his words, he said he managed to somehow film a scene with William Hartnell. Whether what people are suggesting that maybe that means he's in that moment in Adventure, although it's obviously not really William Hartnell, but
yes,
the character of William Hartnell.
Yes,
so that would make sense. That would make sense in a way, and also it makes sense as well because if it was something that was actually in the show, I don't think he would so casually just drop it like that because he must have been trained so well, like not to spoil anything.
It's sort of a little bonus, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just on the side, on the fringe of things. Yeah.
So we'll see on that.
Watch this space.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the Daleks colorization as well.
Same.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll reserve judgment until I've seen it, but I did have a look at the pictures that came out, and I was a bit surprised by some of the color choices. The inside of the Dalek control room looks a bit like Teletubby Land.
Well, yeah.
I know they're sort of thinking if they're going to go with colour, they may as well make it colourful. But yeah.
And also, I think it's really promising to hear that, new special effects is fine. That was probably a given. But the new score, and I'm really interested as well as to how they've actually edited it down into being one feature film for this era, for this time. I think that's what really intrigues me because it's what dates things is the pacing. You can cope with special effects. We all watch things from when we were kids where the special effects look ropey. So that's fine. But it's the pacing that's changed so much over time that I think that is what really excites me about seeing that again.
Yeah.
Wondering how they've actually lengthened pauses or changed speeches in order to make it feel more modern. So I'm quite intrigued about that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting to see how they've done it. And I hope it works as well. Like I hope it works for drawing in new viewers who wouldn't have bothered watching it otherwise. Yeah, you know, because this is the thing. We all love Doctor Who, but like we want to bring in new fans, and this is what as well with the kind of the controversial decision of calling Ncuti's first season 1, where we're kind of embarking on a new iteration of the show now. So new people can join in and not feel sort of overwhelmed by the past. So that's, I think it's just a very exciting time to be a fan, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so much going on. And there seems to have been so much going on in the time that it's taken for us to get to this point. We've been drip fed information for quite a while now from Russell's tenure since post Jodie, really, I guess. There's been news every week. Something new is happening on their Instagram every week, and that's where I primarily get my Doctor Who news. And so it just feels like it's part of the conversation again, not just us talking to each other on podcasts because of what we do, you know. But it's like it's really nice that it's everywhere. And even Jay said that you know, it's just everywhere at the moment. And I was like, you're saying that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah. I think Ben's got to the point where if I'm watching, because I've started watching Doctor Who Confidential from the old days back on iPlayer. And if it's on, he just goes upstairs because he's like, I do a podcast with you on Doctor Who. I don't need to be bombarded with more of it, like in my spare time.
It's hilarious because whenever something arrives at my door, like a parcel, he's like, so what Doctor Who thing have you got this week? I was listening to some music the other night and he was like, what are you listening to? I was like, just a soundtrack. He was like, a Doctor Who soundtrack.
Yeah, obviously.
Obsessed.
Are there any other soundtracks in existence?
I don't think there are.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, for joining me for this episode.
You're welcome. It's been a blast.
It's been a real pleasure, yeah. And I think you might be back before too long.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been fun. And I hope you enjoy the 60th specials. We're just around the corner now.
Oh, I can't wait. I hope you enjoy them too, and I hope our listeners enjoy them, because I'm sure they will. Yes. I'm sure we all will. I'm saying about the expectation factor, I'm just saying it's going to be awesome, but just don't stress about it. It's a show.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Exactly. There's bigger things in life.
Yes, there's food.
It's just a bit of fun. Yeah.
That's more important.
Well, on that note, you know what we like to say at the end of our podcast. Would you like the honour?
Stay fantastic.
Yay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.